Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Good morning. While we're waiting for Aaron and Jose, who do we have in here that has any questions, any yes, sessions about? Let's chat. Let's do this. Let's create a topic. What is your challenge? What are you confronting right now that you want Jose and Aaron to go through today and discuss that with you?
Hey, John. Good morning.
Good morning, Axel here, buddy. John is at the EXPCon Canada. I believe Jose just got here. What are we working on? Let's come up with a topic. We got the master here. Anybody has a challenge that they want to discuss? Any question? Let's do this.
Not so
Jose, we
much
got a
a
shy
question,
people here
but just a
today.
little evidence. Not so much a question, but a little evidence. I was able to get an appointment based on just like soaking in all of the normal conversations. It's a tentative one, but I mean, it'll be a $900,000 listing. So, you know,
So what's your challenge? What do you want to get in there?
oh, not a challenge. I was just like, just saying that this is working.
This is good, man. This is awesome. Thanks for sharing that. That's awesome. So for the ones that they're struggling getting a listing right now, what would be your challenge in this market? What is it that is holding you back in getting a signature? Let's chat. What is the objection right now that you're facing that you're feeling that you cannot handle? Let's discuss. This is for you guys.
Somebody will go at some point.
I know. It's just a little early in the morning in the Pacific side. What is it, 10 a.m. in the East Coast right now? You had your breakfast and coffee. Let's do this, guys. Let's work it out. This 1 hour can change your approach, can change your verbatim, the way you talk, the way you can handle and get a better rapport. Let's talk about that. What's your question? What's your
or even if somebody wants to role play something, like if they want to role play like an expired, if they want to role play FSBO, if they want to role play sphere of influence, they want to role play probate, they want to role play like a certain objection as well too. Like I need to think about it. I have another agent I'm interviewing. They want to price. I want to overprice the property, or I want a certain price, or how much commission do you charge? We're ready to roll. Whoever wants to do this.
I haven't practiced my FSBO scripts, but I decided I'm gonna start calling. Is it okay if I'm the seller and you kind of show me your style? Is that all right?
Yeah, sure. Sure, it's not a problem. Ring.
And you want me to be hard or medium?
Up to you, man. However spicy you're feeling.
All right. All right. Hello.
Disclosure, I haven't personally called FSBOs probably like in 2 years, 3 years, but I'm pretty confident I still got it in me. So, all right, good. So ring. Hello, I'm looking for Jerry.
Yes, this is Jerry. Who's this?
Hi, Jerry. Good morning. This is Jose Morales, and I was calling about your property over on 123 Banana Street.
Yeah, what about it?
Okay. So I work with a lot of buyers and sellers here in the area, and I was just wondering, once you sell this property, where is it that you're planning on moving to next?
Oh, we're going to North Carolina.
Good for you, man. Congratulations. How do you feel about that move? Excited, nervous?
I'm excited. I'm excited. We got family over there. We're gonna have babysitters and just people to bounce off of. It's gonna be great.
Got it. Awesome. Okay. And then Jerry, in terms of timing, is there an ideal time frame for you to sell this property, or does it really just come down to as soon as you find the right buyer?
A little bit of both. A little bit of both. Um, the sooner I get there, the more money I save. And yeah, I definitely, you know, it's got to be the right buyer. It's got to be the right price.
Got it. So basically, in other words, like if you were able to sell the property this week, that wouldn't cause any inconvenience for you, in other words.
I would probably need, 3 weeks to move out.
Okay. Got it. But you would be able to open up escrow right away, right? It would just be about coordinating the move out date or the close of escrow.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay. So I did notice the property on Zillow. I think that's where you're advertising it for sale by owner. I was just wondering, are you using any other methods for really proactively and aggressively marketing this property for sale?
Well, I got it on Zillow. I got a yard sign, a pretty big one too. I got it positioned real nice in front of my house, and I've been throwing it on Facebook a little bit.
Got it. Okay. So you're doing some good marketing basically. You have it online, you have it on a couple websites, and even reaching out to like the people that you know.
Yes.
Got it. I do have to ask you, Jerry. Obviously, you've got a fantastic home. It's in a great neighborhood. Got some great crown molding. You've got the open floor plan. You're at the end of the cul-de-sac. It's phenomenal. Like, why did you decide to sell it by owner as opposed to maybe just going the more traditional route and listing it just with a real estate agent?
Well, I got a couple of friends that are realtors, and they're telling me that I can sell it on my own. I don't need a real estate agent, things like that. So if I can save the commission, hey, more money in my pocket.
Got it. Okay. So basically, like, you're thinking like, hey, look, if I could save a little bit of money on the commission, then obviously like that would benefit you.
Yes.
And then you're offering a buyer's compensation, right?
Yeah, we're offering 2% to the buyer.
Okay. So in reality, you're only looking to save the listing side of the fee. In other words, you're not like against working with buyer's agents. In other words.
No, I'm not.
Okay. So here's the reality, Jerry. 100% your friends are right. Meaning, in terms of being able to sell the property by yourself, the marketplace is strong. There's a lot of good activity. Obviously, you've got a phenomenal home. My question to you is that if you knew that you could actually net more money, meaning even after any additional commissions, you could put more money in your pocket than you could by doing it the for sale by owner route, is that something that you would be open to?
I mean, more money is always good. What is the way?
Yeah. Can I make a recommendation to you, Jerry?
Just go for it.
Okay. So first of all, I just want to be clear. I'm not in the business of wasting people's time. So not going to be a waste of time in any way, shape, or form. But here's what I like to do if you're open to it. What I like to do if you're open to it is I like to pop by. I like to take a look at your property and see what it has to offer in person. While I'm there, I'll share with you two things really clearly. Number one, what is top dollar for your property? Meaning, what is the most in the open market you can expect to receive from a buyer? And number two, if you do decide to go in that direction, what would be the net? Meaning, what would be left in your pocket? That way you can compare what the open market approach would be relative to you continuing to go for sale by owner. So if we were to get together, that way you can get this second opinion, is there typically a day of the week that would normally work out better for you?
Well, I mean, I'm available on Fridays.
Okay, so Friday. Okay, good. I'm looking here at my calendar for Friday. Now, if we were to get together on Friday, would 3 o'clock or 5 o'clock be better for you?
Um, Probably 5.
Okay, so 5 o'clock would be better. Fantastic. Okay, so I've got you down for this Friday at 5 o'clock. I just have a couple of really quick questions I need to ask you. I'm going to be doing a little bit of homework on the property, and I just want to make sure that I'm fully prepared and I can really be of best service to you. Is it okay if I ask them now?
Sure.
Okay, perfect. That's it.
And go into the prequel.
Yeah.
That was smooth. That was like really, really smooth. It was personal without being personal, and digging into the motivation rather than being salesy. I loved it. Thank you.
Yeah. I thought you said you were going to be hard.
I went medium.
No, that was really the sunny side up, my friend.
Say it again.
Why don't we throw in some curveball? Like, I really like to keep my previous agent. He's been working so hard for this. I don't know why it didn't sell, but I don't think that's my agent. How would
Is this
you
for sale by owner or an expired?
That's FSBO. Sorry, that's expired. Yeah. You know what? With the FSBO, we don't have a past agent. So,
Yeah.
What's a curveball we can go? Other than commission.
I have 3, 4, 5 friends that are realtors that I would hire instead of you.
Got it. Okay, so it sounds like if you did put it on the open market, like it's going to be a pretty tough decision for you because it sounds like you've got like 3 or 4 different choices that you're going to choose from.
Sorry, my mic was off. Yes, I do have a lot of friends that are realtors.
Got it. How are you going to go about making that decision? I mean, if you got 3 or 4 of them, like you're going to make somebody mad, right?
Yeah, I haven't thought about it that way.
Yeah. But let me ask you this, and I'm not sure if you're open to this. Do you think that it would be easier for you instead of selecting one of the 3 or 4 friends and potentially having one of them be upset with you? Do you think it would be easier for you to go with somebody that you don't know? That way, instead of saying, hey, I listed with this friend versus that friend, you're like, hey, look, like I had this other agent that wasn't in my peer group. I didn't want to work with a friend. Do you think that would be like do you think that would make it easier in a sense where they won't be as mad at you because you picked one friend over another?
I mean, I see the logic in it. It's still something really heavy. I'm not sure if I want to go in that direction just yet.
Yeah. Can I make a recommendation to you, Jerry?
Yeah.
So I just want to start off by, I appreciate obviously you opening up. And 2, I'm not in the business of wasting people's time. So here's what I like to do. Obviously, you've got plenty of options as it relates to like which agent you would select if you did decide to go in that direction. What I like to do is I like to give you an independent opinion from somebody that you have no relationship with as to 2 things. Number 1, what is the most that you can sell the property for, and what is top dollar in today's marketplace? And number 2, if you did decide to go in that direction, what would the net bottom line be in your pocket? So let me ask you this, like if we were to get together for that one independent opinion from somebody that has no relationship to you, what would be the best day for us to do that?
Well, probably a Saturday.
Okay. And if we were to get together on Saturday, I'm looking here at the calendar, would 1 or 3 o'clock be better for you?
Probably 1 o'clock.
Got it. Okay. Perfect. All right.
Thank you. That was smooth again.
So I think with that one, I usually like, well, like if you got 3 or 4 friends, like how are you going to go about making that decision? Do you think if you pick one friend versus another, do you think that's going to make one of your friends potentially upset? Or do you think that's going to make it an even tougher decision for you? Well, I didn't even think about that. Can I make a recommendation? It's almost easier, Jerry, for you to select somebody that you have no relationship with than to select between one of the 3 or 4 friends. If you select between one of the 3 or 4 friends, it's probably, and correct me if I'm wrong, it might cause some potential tough conversations with somebody. Versus if you go in a completely different direction, it'll probably make it easier for you. So can I make a recommendation to you?
Yes.
Okay. Oh.
Very nice. Thank you.
Hey, Jose, it's Tim Freund. Good morning.
Tim.
How you doing, brother? Hey,
Great.
so I've been hounding Mr. Novello since my meeting with him last week when I didn't get a recording of his brilliant buyer-broker commission discussion.
Uh-huh.
So I was wondering, I saw that he hopped on. I'd love to get your take as well. Have you done it yet? Have you had that conversation with a buyer? I mean, I know you're not working with a lot of buyers, so I'm just sort of curious how you're handling.
I haven't personally done it, but I did do like a presentation on it, like I think maybe like 2 weeks ago, where we did go over like what to say and how to say it. If Novello wants to pop on, obviously Novello, you've been hounding him, so let's see if
Hounding him. He's ignoring me. He's running.
Hey, I'm not ignoring you, brother.
Yeah, you've been waiting for this morning.
Yeah, so the idea is when you're having this conversation, keeping in mind that really what you're doing here is listing a buyer in the same way that you would list a seller. So, when you go over to do a presentation to a seller, you go over, you talk about all of the services, kind of benefits and pros of them deciding to hire you to help them to accomplish their goal or objective. In other words, to be the guide for them, right? Because they're the hero in their own story. You're just the guide. And then once you go over what you're going to be doing to help them, then you ask for money, right? You have a conversation about compensation. So on the listing side, we've been having these conversations forever, right? It's just that on the buyer side, we haven't had to have them. And the reason we haven't had to have them is because buyer brokers agreements were not mandatory, right? Like you would never take a listing without having a listing agreement signed. It's like, why not? Well, it's because it's mandatory. And shortly here, I'm aware that they're pushing it out because there's like unintended consequences, like if you think in terms of like principles, there's like first principles, second and third level consequences, right? So they're having to like think about all of that stuff. So, they're pushing it out. They're saying maybe by December or whatever. We can just operate under the assumption that with a super high degree of probability, you're going to have to get buyer brokers agreements signed when you work with any buyers, and you're going to have the conversation about compensation. Okay. So if you put it in context, and the reason why I'm taking the time to do that before I go over specifically how to have that conversation is I just want everybody on this call to mentally wrap their head around the fact that you've been doing this. If you've taken any listing, you've done this. Okay. It's just the process that now that you're going to start applying to working with buyers, right? So the first thing I would do, Tim, is come up with your specific value proposition. Now, I know you very well because we've had the good fortune of working in a one-on-one capacity for a long time. So I know that you've been selling real estate for longer than some people on this call have been alive, okay? Like 30 plus years. So you can talk about your experience. You can talk about the number of homes that you've sold in that geographic area, which is like, 1,000 probably by now. You can talk about how, because you list properties in the price point that they're purchasing in, and you're one of the top agents in that price point in your geographic area, you can bring them inventory that isn't on the open market, right? You could talk about the fact that you have a team that, works with you, and any other ancillary services that you're going to be providing. Now, keep in mind, guys, in the hero's journey, the hero is your client. You're not the hero. You're just the guide. So the purpose in having this conversation with them is to demonstrate competency, right? That you're a competent guide and that you can help them to get to their end destination, whatever that end destination is. Now, once you've had that conversation, you would say something like, okay, great, Tim. So now that we've gone over the products and services that I'm going to be providing you with, now it's time to have a conversation about compensation. So what I'd like to do is to go over with you what our compensation is to represent you, right? In this capacity with all of those services that I just, described, and the different ways that we can get to that compensation. So that way you're crystal clear on, how that works. And, if you want to proceed, then we can take the steps to do so. Does that sound good? Yeah, that sounds fine. Now, I want to pause right here, okay? Because I need everybody to understand, I believe with a very high degree of probability, there will be different forms of compensation for different forms of representation. Listen to what I just said to you. There will be different forms of compensation for different forms of representation. So what I've been coaching our team, the elite builders and also one-on-one clients that I work with, we should be doing this also on the listing side as well, right? So I think agents of the future will provide more options, not monolithic. It is one thing and that's it. Part of the reason why Jose is still taking 11 listings in a month is because he's providing different options and choices. And we should be doing that on both sides, listing side and buy side, right? So what do I mean by that? Let's say you're listing a property. It's like, well, there's different ways that we can represent you. So I'd like to go over them with you so that way you can decide which one you think would serve you and your family best in this particular situation and the time frame you'd like to make this move happen in. Whatever you decide, I'll support you. So the first option is we have the entry level option. We call that the gold option. And the gold option includes the following products and services, right? We will, have professional photography taken. We'll put it in a multiple listing service. We will, have somebody on staff that can have conversations with people when they call us and ask us about, professional fees. And, we'll negotiate on your behalf. We'll, maybe some flyers, and maybe we do an open house once a month. That's the entry level package. And here's the fee that's associated with that. Now we have the next level, which is like the platinum package. The platinum package includes everything in gold. And in addition, the following: you get Matterport, you get, digital door knocking, where maybe like we take out ads and we blast out people in a geographic area surrounding, the property. We target people. Maybe we do an open house every single weekend until it sells, right? So it's additional services. And then we have the guaranteed home sale. The guaranteed home sale is everything that's included in gold and platinum. And you get the additional, which is we will pay for the appraisal before we put on the market. We will pay to have the home inspected, and we'll give you $1,000 for anything that comes up as a credit at closing that you paid for prior to us putting it on the market. Right? We will pay to have it professionally cleaned before we put it on the market. Maybe we'll do some home staging. And here's the fee that's associated with that. So my intention in going through that with you guys, again, is for you to get clarity around how that is going to, it's easier to understand on that side because we've been doing it on that side for a long time, and then just applying it to the buy side. Okay. So that's what I mean by different forms of representation for different forms of compensation. So you have to decide as an operator, as a technician in your business, what is going to be the different forms of representation, different forms of compensation. Okay. So I just want to give you that caveat. So now as we enter into having this conversation, what the conversation would sound like is something like, okay, so in terms of compensation, there's 3 different ways that we can get to the professional fee, which the professional fee, in order for me to provide you the full range of products and services, is blank, whatever that is. I know all commissions are negotiable. If in your geographic area, if you want to get 2%, if you want to get 3%, if you want to get 5%, you know what I mean? Like whatever the percentage is that you want to get, or a fee. Because this is going to unlock entrepreneurialism. It'll unlock options and choices. So you could say something like, yeah, the professional fee for us to give you all those products and services is 2% of the agreed upon purchase and sales price, or $10,000, whichever one's left. Right? And here are the different ways that we can get to it. The first way is that the listing agent and the seller provide compensation, right? And if they provide the compensation that gets us to this amount, then great, it's taken care of, and we don't have to have a conversation at all. The second option is where they provide a portion of the compensation, maybe through a credit, right? Because we still are allowed with the new changes in the multiple listing service to provide credits in the multiple listing service. So if that happens and the credit amount equals either 2% or $10,000, then we're good. If it's a little bit less than that, then you would have to make up the difference. You'd make up the gap. And then the third option is there's an outside chance, Tim, that they may not offer anything. And if they don't offer anything, and by the way, the only way that I would perceive that happening is in a situation where there might be like multiple offers on the table. So they may come back to us and be like, hey, we're not going to offer out any compensation. If they don't offer any compensation at all, then you would be responsible. Now, if you were responsible for the compensation, one of two things would happen. The first one is, Tim, is I am never going to stand in the way of you getting the home that you want. So if you want to get that home and the compensating me is an issue, then I will politely bow out. And that way, I just need you to know, though, you are going to be unrepresented and have to deal directly with the listing agent. The only thing I would request is that if I do that, that you essentially guarantee me that you will send me at least 2 to 3 referrals in the next 12 months. The second option is if you want your agent, which is me, and I'm patting on my chest as I do this, if you want your agent to represent you and fight for you tooth and nail, make sure you get every penny possible, make sure the terms and conditions and all the T's are dotted, crossed and all the I's are dotted, then you would be responsible for that compensation. So are you clear on the products and services that I'm going to be providing you with, Tim?
Yes. So would I have to write a check? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. So if there is a gap between the difference of the compensation that you see here, the 2% or $10,000, whichever's less, then yes, you would be responsible to make up the difference. On the outside chance that the listing agent and the seller is not providing any compensation, then you would be responsible for it.
So would we be able to write an offer that we ask that they pay you?
Yeah, of course we can. It can be part of the negotiation. And my intention, by the way, Tim, is to negotiate as much of the professional fee in the form of a concession, in the form of a better purchase and sales price, or in the form of terms and conditions that suit your needs, that really favor you versus, the seller.
Okay. So let's say I think you mentioned you charge 2.5%. What if they're paying,
Yeah.
What if they're paying, like 1%? And so you're saying I'd have to either write you a check for the 1.5%, or, would you do it for less in that scenario?
Yeah. It's a fair question. And just like any other professional, Tim, whether it's like an attorney or an accountant or anything of that nature, they have these conversations with you with regards to compensation up front. Because I'd much rather earn your business with integrity, being honest and straightforward, versus promising you something I know isn't going to happen and not be able to deliver. So in the event, as I mentioned to you, I'm not going to stand in the way of you getting a home that you really, really want. If you want to be unrepresented in that instance and have to deal directly with the listing agent and not have anybody looking out for your best interest, as I mentioned, I would politely bow out. Because I don't want to stand in the way of you getting the home that you want. And all I ask in return is that you just, spread the goodwill that, I did that for you. And then, you can perhaps refer me to some clients in the future, 2 to 3 in a calendar year.
But if I want you to represent me, and I have to pay you, would you do it for less than the 2.5?
Yeah.
If I had to, or something.
Yeah, it's a really fair question. What I'm aware of is like, I want us both to feel good about what we're doing. Otherwise, we won't do it. And I'm interested in win-win propositions, not win-lose propositions, right? So I'm pretty sure we could come up with something that's mutually beneficial to all parties. At the same time, if you're asking me if I would do it for 1%, the answer is no.
I see. Okay.
So I'm aware that you have lots of options at your disposal. And ultimately, what this comes down to, because I know in the absence of value, the only thing to compete on is price. And some people imagine that the only thing we do is open up doors. Let me ask you a question, Tim. If the only thing we did was open up doors, do you think real estate agents would be involved in 93% of all transactions in the United States?
Well, no, I mean, I know you do other stuff too. That's why I'm working with you, Aaron. You're the best.
Yeah. And again, I appreciate that. And just like anything else in life, Tim, you usually get what you pay for. So do you think it's possible that you could find somebody in our marketplace who perhaps doesn't have the experience that I do that'll do it for less?
Yeah, I'm sure I could. Yeah.
Yeah. And is that the level of service and attention that you want?
No, I'm just trying to figure out how I'd pay for it,
Yeah, I get it.
So,
and we'll figure that out together as a team. I just wanted to have this upfront, candid conversation, so that way you're clear on the ways that, it can transpire, and you can make a decision that you feel is best. So it really sounds like you've made the decision that you want me to help. That's not the issue. And for the reasons that you just described, our track record, our expertise, and things of that nature. And, now it's just like an issue of like, okay, well, how do we get you compensated? And, again, you strike me to be someone who's super reasonable. I'm the same way. It certainly won't be a reason why we don't do business. At the same time, as I mentioned to you, I'm not interested in doing something where one party is, benefiting more than the other. I want us both to feel good about what we're doing. Can you appreciate that?
Absolutely. Sure. Yeah, no, I mean, I want you to get paid. I won't have the money after I do the down payments. I'm just trying to think of other options, might be out there.
Yeah, I get that. And again, because as you know, like, I'm not going to stand in the way, if you find a perfect home and they're not able to compensate me and we can't come to something that's meeting of the minds, then I'm not going to get in the way of you getting the home that you.
So if I said to you something like, Aaron, I only want to see houses where you're being compensated by the seller, is that something that you'd be able to do?
Yeah, 100%. It's going to take a little bit of homework because we can no longer put that in the multiple listing service. So I would just have to reach out to other agents and find out which property, which we can do because we have a huge network, and just find out which properties are providing that compensation. And those are the ones that we'll look at first.
Okay. And I noticed you had a listing that I was pretty interested in. I'm just curious, if you're not paying a compensation to my representation and you were going to represent both buyer and the seller, what might that look like? Would you do it for 1% at that point, or how would that work?
Yeah, again, it's going to be like there'll be like different scenarios that pop up. Obviously, in that scenario, I'd probably be more open to having a conversation. And the way that I view this is that what I'm really interested in, Tim, is what's in your best interest. The moment that I start to insert myself into your transaction, do you know what happens?
What's that?
It becomes about me. And I really want to make this about you. You know what I'm saying? So, like, I'm sure in those scenarios, I'm definitely open to having a conversation, and I'm sure we could come up with something that's mutually beneficial. But again, I want both parties to feel good about what they're doing. I don't want anybody to walk away from this being like, I don't feel good about that.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay. So are you clear on what we're going to be doing?
Yeah, I think I understand that. Great.
Good. And you're clear on the different ways we can get compensated. So would you like for me to be your buyer's agent?
Absolutely. Yeah, I think you're great.
Well, I appreciate that. Sounds like you're beginning to see why people like you hire me all the time to help them with this process. So to guide them through this process. So all I need you to do is just go ahead and authorize this buyer brokerage agreement. Okay.
Okay. Then this is where I commit to paying you, right?
You just commit to working with me. Yeah. And obviously if we do find a property that fits your criteria and we make an offer, then yes, you would be agreeing to those different ways that we can get to the compensation.
Okay. And how long is that for?
Yeah. So, what I'm aware of is it usually takes about 30 to 45 days, maybe 60 days tops to secure a property in this environment, because we may have a situation where we have to make offers on more than one, because we still have, inventory is actually down 41% year over year in our area. Did you know that?
I was not aware of that. No, I know it's hard.
Yeah,
to find for sure.
Right. So we need ample time, right, to find a property. And I limit the amount of people that we work with in this capacity to like 5 at any given time. Do you know why I do that?
Why is that?
So that way I can give you the attention that you deserve, right? Versus like an agent who's maybe like, working with like 100 different leads or something.
I see.
So you fit the criteria for sure based on motivation and your desire. So I'm going to commit all my time, energy, effort, and resources to helping to accomplish this, being that we're going to have to make, more than one offer to find something that fits the criteria with a high degree of probability. I would say that this agreement, what would make sense is for at least 120 days, because that's how long it's probably going to take to not only secure a property and then, get it under contract, get an escrow, and move towards closing. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, it does. Does it make a difference if I find the property on my own and then say, hey, let's go look at this property, or is it all the same?
Yeah, so it's a good question. So, this was happening in a previous environment, right? So prior to these changes, like, it's not uncommon that people would go online and find a property, and then they can kind of imagine that if they call directly to the listing agent, that's going to, allow them to get a better deal in some way. What's very interesting about that is when it plays out, let me ask you a question. If that listing agent was to engage with you, who are they actually looking out for their best interest?
Yeah, I guess that could be a problem, right? They're probably looking.
Yeah, it creates friction, right? And I guess from your perspective, how could that be a problem, in your mind?
Well, if they know them and they're, they already are in a relationship with them, I could see them being more loyal to them than they would be to me,
Exactly right. Now, would you want to actually pay somebody to negotiate against you?
Yeah, that doesn't make a lot of sense.
Doesn't make a lot of sense to me either. So, when you commit to working with me, you're just committing to having me help. So if you found a property that fit the criteria, just send it to me, dude. And I'll reach out to them. I'll find out about the compensation. I'll do all the back end work. And at least this way, that you have a guide that's really in representation. It's going to fight for you tooth and nail to make sure that your interests are looked after. That's what you want, isn't it?
That is what I want. Yes.
I know. You know what the great news is, Tim?
What's that?
You found what you're looking for, man.
Right on. Let's go find that.
Let's go ahead and authorize this agreement and get started. Okay.
All righty. Thanks. Appreciate that.
All right. Yeah, my pleasure. So I didn't do that to hear myself speak. So what are you aware of? What are you noticing as a veteran who's been doing this for a long time? What things are popping out at you?
Very relaxed. It's a conversation about how you get paid. Not a lot of friction, not a lot of interference. We'll work through that. We'll find out, what we need to find out. You won't stand in the way. You were very, just very relaxed about it and just conversational, asking questions, and made me feel like you were going to represent me, and that's what I wanted.
It's awesome. And then do you see how this is actually the exact, because I want everybody on this call to recognize something, okay? I personally have not put a buyer in my car for 15 years. But yet I can have this conversation. Why? Because it's the exact same conversation I've been having with sellers for 17 years. Do you see that? It's the exact same thing. And all I'm doing is just asking questions and handling some of these and couching it in a way that would serve him. And then I just put it out there. Look, man, I don't want us to do anything that doesn't make sense and that we won't feel good about. Right. And look, I shared with you, I could politely bow out. So, and then when I did that, you know what he said? No, I want you to represent me. Okay. So if that's what you want, here's how it works. And then he came up with another scenario. It's yeah, dude, I'm open to having a conversation. I'm sure it won't be a reason why we don't do business. At the same time, I don't want anybody to walk away from this not feeling good about what we're doing. I'm sure you can appreciate that, right? He's yeah, that makes sense to me. You're just leveling with him on a human level. You know what I mean? And I said to him, I also brought up, again, handling objections, just like I do on the listing side. Somebody says, hey, John says he'll do it for 1%. Yeah, I get it. Lots of agents out there will do that. I'm wondering, what's specifically important to you in hiring someone to help you guide you through this process? What's the most important? Is it the amount that they're going to charge you for the service that they're going to provide? Or is it their level of competency based on track record, which gives you certainty that this will get done and you'll net the most and do it in a quick amount of time? Which one has more value? How is that any different? I did the same thing on the buy side when you challenged me.
Right.
and I appreciate you doing this, Tim, because like you're really like it's a demonstration of like professionalism because you've been doing this a long time. You sell a lot of properties, you make a lot of money, and you've been kind enough to share with me that in other environments where they're trying to have conversations like this, it's like a fucking shit show.
Shit show.
And what they're doing is just like pontificating and verbally vomiting and over fucking explaining. And we role played this the first time, and I shared with Tim. I'm like, "Hey, time out." He's like, "What?" I'm like, "You're losing me, bro. Like, I'm not paying attention anymore because you're talking too much."
Yeah, the calories.
He's like, "All right,
calories."
Yeah, and exactly. So what our brains are doing are two things simultaneously, guys. I need everybody to understand this. The first things our brain's doing is trying to determine, will this help me to survive or thrive? If it's not, I'm fucking not paying attention. The second thing it's doing is it's trying to conserve calories. Our brain spends a lot of time actually blocking information because there's so much information. So it's trying to get to somewhere in the shortest, quickest way of time, like expend the least amount of calories. So if you're talking a lot and explaining a lot, my brain's like, fuck, dude, it's going to take me a while to figure this out. And it stops, you zone out, you stop paying attention. So just by economy, like here's the 3 ways that we get compensated. Are you clear? And then once I explained that very easily and concisely, then he had some questions. Great. He asked the questions, handled the questions. And then I asked, because the other thing that I'm learning from story brand format, guys, nobody takes actions until they're prompted. You have to call them to action, just like the hero in any story has to get called to action by the guide. Right? Like Yoda taught Luke Skywalker, he said, be patient with the Force, but then he called him to action to fucking use it.
I do hair here and I do hair in Malibu.
Salima, mute yourself, bro.
What did you do with your hair? If you can do anything with your hair.
Salima, mute yourself.
Silver coming.
Yo, can anybody mute Salima?
Can you DM me later?
Okay. All right. So any other questions, comments, concerns, observations, hallucinations about what I just did?
Great. Thank you.
That was phenomenal.
Tim, hey. Oh, man, I got a phenomenal from Hosey. Let's go, bro. Let's fucking go. Hey, Tim, see, you got what you wanted, bro. You were persistent. Way to go.
Yeah, I told you the squeaky wheel. I figured I was going to hound you until I got that. You know, the background was I was out of town, so we did our coaching on a phone call. So when I said, hey, I'm ready for this, I got to listen back to this. And I got my recording of about 2 seconds of Aaron being on a Zoom call and me not there. And I'm like, oh, damn, so I'm texting him over the weekend, dude, I need that. Can you just give me the script? And it's like radio silence. He's waiting. He's going, yeah, I think we got Wednesday coming up, don't we? Let's see if you show.
Hey, yeah, exactly. Hey, this guy, I love it, bro. He got a taste. He needed to come back. I need some more. Give me some more.
That's it. Well, I did it. I did a presentation at my own company on this, and it was 6 minutes long. And I knew it was long. It felt long at the time, but I was just, like you said, lack of economy of words, which is usually my fault. And so I needed to hear your ninja version, which was very, very, very light on the calories, but high on the content.
Love it, bro. Light on calories, high on content. This is the good shit, not the bullshit, team.
So I'll add a little bit to it, Tim. So this is how I kind of set it up right before you go into like how much commission do you charge. This is kind of my setup of it at the buyer's consultation. So I'll say something along the lines like, as you can see, Tim, I'm going to put a lot of time, I'm going to put a lot of energy, and I'm going to put a lot of resources into helping you find the right property. In other words, I'm like 100% committed to helping you find the right property at the right price. Now, because I am going to put a lot of time, energy, and 100% commitment back from you. Is that okay?
Yeah. What does that mean?
Sorry, I think I just my wife just connected to the Bluetooth. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, good. And then they'll usually say, yes, I'm okay. So what this means is that if you see a for sale sign, instead of calling the for sale sign, you call me. and I will get you all the details on the property. So if you're browsing on Zillow and for whatever reason Zillow requests that you input your contact information, instead of inputting your information on the website, you reach out to me and I will get you the details on the home. Now, the reason you don't want to call the for sale sign and the reason you don't want to input your information on Zillow is the moment you do that, you're going to become the most popular person in town because Zillow is going to sell your name to like 3 or 4 different people. And at that point, you're going to be bombarded with calls from agents. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that sounds awful.
Now, in order for us to be able to start helping you find the right property, it does require that we take care of some paperwork. What this paperwork does is it allows me to start showing you homes and it formalizes my relationship as your agent. Are you okay with that?
Yes.
And then it basically, I basically just reverse what I do on the listing side to the buyer side. And I'll be like, great. So I'm going to fill out this paperwork and I can explain it to you. Once again, this is going to allow me to start showing you properties and will formalize our relationship as your real estate agent, basically. And then on the listing side, what I do is if they don't ask about the commission, I just assume a 6%. If they ask about commission, then at that point, we have a conversation about what is good for them. And the same way that I start the conversation on the listing side is like, well, how much commission do you charge? You know what? I actually don't have a set commission that I charge. I usually try to be flexible, just depending on whatever my clients need. Is there a certain commission structure that you're looking for to try to see if I can accommodate to your needs? Then I get them to tell me what they're thinking, and then we start negotiating basically at that point. So that's kind of the setup. How we set it up, basically.
Yeah, I like that idea about, it'll allow me to begin showing you properties because that's what the new rule is requiring, right? With this document, we can't show property without this. So by caging it in that fashion, that it allows me to do this, it becomes a necessity rather than something I'm trying to push off on them, which is sort of how we've been feeling about buyer broker agreements.
Well, I'm glad that you picked up on that. It allows me because I use that on the listing side. So, like right when I'm closing for a signature, I'll say, "Great." So, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to fill out some paperwork. I'm going to explain it to you. What this is going to allow me to do, it's going to allow me to start that pre-marketing campaign that we talked about. It's going to allow me to coordinate pictures, and it's going to allow me to start coordinating the for sale sign. Do you have any questions before we go ahead and take care of the paperwork? Because sometimes they'll try to postpone the signing of something as long as they can. So the reason I phrase it, what this will do is it will allow me to, because at that point you have something that they want. But in order for them to get that something that you have that they want, it does require that we formalize this relationship, basically. I did it last night. I'm like, look, like I did bring some paperwork. What this is going to do is going to allow me to start doing this, this, and this. Are you good with that? Yes, I am. Great. Because they want all that stuff. They want to start seeing property, you know?
Yeah. That's right. Yeah, I like the idea of mentioning the signage as well. Fine, if you find a property, tell me about it so I can find out the details for you.
Well, I think that's coaching them as well, too, because what will happen is that I don't know if it's ever happened to you, but it happened to me when I was working with buyers back in the day that people didn't know that inputting their info on Zillow, they were going to sell the lead to 3 or 4 different people. People wouldn't know that calling the for sale sign is actually going to have the listing agent trying to convert you into a client, basically. So by letting them know of that up front, it basically discourages that type of behavior, which creates one less problem that you could potentially face. Whereas like, oh my God, Tim, I didn't know that this was going to happen. Like I inputted my information. Now the guy told me that if I write the offer through him, it's going to get accepted. Like, I'm so sorry, blah, 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 blah.
Right.
So it's almost like doing it up front versus waiting until it happens.
Right. Cool. I like it. Yep. Thank you.
I have a question real quick.
Yes, sir.
It's about off-market listings. So you know how you're saying if we market the listing for 2.5%, we're going to do an open house. We're going to do all these services, but on the off-market listing, you're still providing the services, but he's asking you for like a 1% commission or something. Because, but even though you're doing the same amount of work, but just in a different way, right?
Yeah. So again, this comes down to like you making decisions around what you're going to be to the market. So in other words, I want everybody to understand.
Okay.
So like, let's say, okay, when you get on a plane, right?
Yeah.
You have choices on where you can sit, correct?
Exactly.
Now you could sit in the back of the plane on Spirit, and it's cheap, but what is your experience going to be like?
Stuck between two fat people.
Yeah, it's going to be shitty.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Now you can sit in a row, like those exit rows that have like more kind of, leg room and on the end, and you would expect to pay more money for that, correct?
Correct.
Yeah. And then, or you could sit up front in first class.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, is anybody mad about those options that they have?
Not at all. Not at all.
No. Do people get on the plane and be like, this is outrageous?
No. You choose your own destiny, right? You choose your own destiny.
Right. Not only that, but let me ask you this. How many times have you ever been on a plane and first class is empty?
No.
Never. Wait a minute. You mean to tell me that they have much cheaper options and they choose to sit up front anyway? Why would they do that?
Comfort.
They value different things.
Yeah.
They value speed because I want to be on the first one on the plane. I want the first one to leave. I want to be the first one to get my snack. So I want to be the first one to be watching a fucking movie, and comfort. So my point is what we're going to experience with this is actual capitalism, where you have lots of choices and options. So you have to decide what you're going to be to the market. Are you going to be Spirit in the back? Now, the only reason you would be Spirit in the back is because you don't want to add a lot of value, truthfully.
Mm-hmm.
Or am I going to be the middle seat? The aisle seat with like extra legroom. Cool. Or am I going to be first class? And that's only something that all of us can decide. And there's no shade, because somebody will say, yo, I will do a flat fee of $6,000, $5,000 on any sale. I don't care if it's a listing or a buyer. They'll do 5 deals a month and they'll make $25,000. Fine. Or there will be people that are first class and they will attract people that value their time and value like expediency and value competency, and they will make a ton of money. Okay. So you just have to decide. So when a seller's like, yeah, bro, like I'll let you market this off market for 1%, you have to decide if you even want to deal with that.
Got it.
Do you be that to the market? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I see exactly.
How is this any different than FSBOs that you call right now that say, yeah, like I'll let you list it at 1%? Like it's not. It's the same shit.
Got it. So then when they're like, I want to make 800,000, I want to rent back the house for 5 months.
Yeah, I'd be like, hey, I want to be 6'5" and play for the Dolphins, bro.
Yeah.
Like what what I'm aware of is that in a perfect world you get exactly what you want. You've been on planet Earth for a while. Is that usually how it works?
Yeah.
They're like, well, no. Yeah. So, there's going to be some flexibility there. And really, if we take kind of the money component out of it, I know that's what we're focused on at this moment. And I'm not trying to like minimize the money. I know it's very important. I guess I'm curious though, for you personally, because your home's lovely. It's in a great geographic area. If and when you do get it sold, like how would your life improve in some way? What would be the benefit to you personally in actually moving?
Got it. Okay.
See, because you're trying to like negotiate with people that you're focused on the wrong thing.
Focusing on the wrong thing.
Motivation.
Focus on the motivation.
Accomplishing. Because motivation fixes price and it also fixes commission. Do you know when I was selling real estate in 2000, I started in 2006, right? And marketplace collapsed and there were all these expireds. I did 100 deals 1 year, 75 were expireds. And the majority of those 75 were expireds. When I called them, we lowered the price, raised the commission and sold it. So
awesome.
Like what I'm aware of but the reason is because they were motivated, bro. You're focused on the wrong thing.
Their motivation. The motivation is key.
You're here trying to get into I'm going to win that, bro.
Got it. Okay. Thank you, Aaron. Appreciate that. Always understand the motivation. Motivation is key.
Great job, Novello.
Dang, bro, I got 2 great jobs from the great and powerful Jose Morales today. Dang, bro. I'm a real boy. I can go about my day and have a great day today.
But dude, you
I
look
think it was
like that guy. You look like that guy Carmelo Anthony in that commercial with the big suits they're showing on all the basketball playoffs. Have you seen that?
Yeah, like Kanye and these like ridiculously oversized like jackets.
That's
No,
it.
this is the sauna, bro. So listen, team, I got to bounce. Let's go. Let's grow in a marketplace that gets challenging. When times get tough, only the skilled get paid. Elite Builders, coast to coast. Peace.